I went mirrorless in April of 2019 with the Nikon Z6. I had been a Nikon user for many years, and finally I said, here is a camera that is worth looking at and is worth exploring. And my first Z6 came with a kit lens, a 24-70 f4, and I had an old Sigma 12-24 wide-angle zoom, and I always had thought about the 14-24 from Nikon but wasn't ready to make that move. Fortunately, Nikon came out with a 14-30, a wonderful wide zoom for its mirrorless camera system. About 7 months later, I bought a second Z6 body and an 85mm f1.8 lens for the Z mount, and I sold off my full frame D750 and several pieces of fast glass. This is my Z6 camera with a kit lens, a 24-70 f4s, and the first thing that one notices with the S lenses, which is Nikon's designation for its better Z-mount lenses, is that when traveling, the lens is in a retracted position, so you have to turn to the lower, the 24mm setting to be able to use, and then it zooms normally. And I'm glad that this is at least a constant aperture lens. The camera comes with the ubiquitous ENEL15. This is a B battery, a little bit different in that it can be recharged in the camera through a USB cord, USB charger, and a USB-C connector on the other end, and you do get one of these with the camera. So I always have a second battery, and I found that in this particular camera, since you have an electronic viewfinder as opposed to an optical viewfinder, you tend to burn the batteries a little faster. This camera also has a silicone rubber cover, and I put this on to protect the camera body from some dings that it will get invariably through the course of travels. And I also got glass shield for the monitor screen as well as the LCD screen on top to avoid damage and abrasions. I did buy an aftermarket strap with removable connectors here. It uses an XQD card. It does not use the SD cards that we were used to. These are more expensive, but they're very fast, and they're supposedly more durable. I want to point out that this camera has one card slot. Serious users like to have two card slots for redundancy and backup. So perhaps a more advanced mirrorless version of this camera will have a second card slot. Yet there are many pros who use the camera and are very happy with the one card slot and don't see a problem with that. The main thing that's different about a mirrorless camera is no mirror. It's a different optical path. Let's take the lens off here, and there you can see the sensor is fairly close to the surface. And you've got to be particularly careful about that, not changing lenses in dusty areas. And also, I always carry a blower brush here, and this other device is called a dust spotter. So if you see a piece of dust on the sensor that you can't get off with this, you can use the dust spotter. Because it's got an XQD card, you need to be able to read those when offloading the images for editing. Now supposedly you can hook up a USB-C to USB card and go right into the computer. I was never totally successful in doing that, not recognizing the camera, other problems, so I had to bite the bullet like almost all the users and buy an XQD adapter. I got this one for about $25 at Best Buy, and very simple. XQD card goes in there, and then this goes into the USB port on the computer. On the MacBook Pro, I have a USB to USB-C adapter besides this. The camera also does have some wireless capability. Some users have used that to constantly offload an image to their smartphone, and it acts as a kind of a backup. This is the ubiquitous Nikon MH25A charger. I really wish they would update this and have plugs that fold right into the charger. This particular one plugs into the wall like that. This moves around and can remove. You could put the right kind of cord in here for going to the wall. I think they did this so that they could deal with the outlets of several different countries, but I wish it had fold-in prongs. It would be a lot easier for travel. Oh, just to show you the difference, this is for reference. This is my D7500, which is the DSLR that I purchased prior to going mirrorless. And you can see how the mirror is buried inside, and that gives, and it also, the sensor is not exposed. The shutter is covering the sensor, and some of the focusing elements are in that path, so the whole engineering of the focus system is different on a camera like this. The other big difference is that because the sensor is further back, the optical design of the lens is different. This is my other Z6 body, and I needed a longer lens, a longer, lighter lens for travel, and so I got a 28-200 Nikkor. The only thing is that since this doesn't handle screw drive, it becomes a manual focus lens. Anyway, here is Nikon's FTZ adapter. So it passes all the electronic information, but it does nothing about screw driving these older Nikon lenses. However, one thing I'll say about the Z6, and I guess it will be the higher megapixel camera, the Z7, is that it gives a really good indication of focus with the manual focus lenses. It gives the indication right in the center of the frame as opposed to the lower left corner. One of the reasons that I went Z6 is that I also use these cameras for recording video on my trips, and in particular 4K video. Now their D7500 here also recorded 4K video, but it did not record using the full frame, and I didn't think the focusing performance was very good. But in the Z6 camera with S lenses, of course, autofocus performance in video is excellent, and 4K video does use the whole frame. Because I am doing video, I like to carry an external plug-in microphone. This is an older Sony model. It does take a battery. It is called the MS908C, and you may find some on eBay. This is a microphone mount extension. It goes into the hot shoe of the camera, and this is important because without the bracket, the mic is going to go into your nose and it's going to interfere, particularly if you're using the viewfinder. So that's why this extension is important. Now, some of the newer microphones out there from Asden and Rode and other manufacturers do have a design to accommodate for that distance. Something I found when I got the Z6 was that there's no pop-up flash. Here, take a look at, here's a D7500, and this, like the 7500 and many cameras from Nikon, had a pop-up flash that was great on trips or when you need just a little bit of fill light, but it also could act as a master in controlling the external Nikon CLS flashes. So I had to find a cheap small flash or a very pocketable thing to take the place of that pop-up. And I went to B&H and they sold me one for about $50. It was a great little flash. Problem is, it didn't work with the Z6. So what I did was to spend $250, and I got the SB500. It's a Nikon SB500. It does it will control the other flashes. It takes 2 AA's. I also bought an aftermarket diffuser for the top for softening the light. Now I'll tell you something that is unique about this one, and that is that it's got an LED in the front. So if you're using this for video, You got that LED, and it is adjustable to 3 different light levels. I use it occasionally, but one thing I'm going to say about this is that the Z6, it has such excellent low light capabilities that I've found that I don't need to use flash as much as I used to. Here's another thing. There's a learning curve with this camera. This book is available from B&H and others. So this is the Z6 Pocket Guide. I assume this one is available for not only for the Z7, but if you should go mirrorless through Sony or Fuji or Canon or any of the other systems, that you could find something, find a pocket guide that is by Rocky Nook. This is really important. It's called Silent Shutter, and I wish I would have had something like that when I was in the wedding photography business. All right, here we are in the menu. If you can see, it says Silent Shutter Off. That's the shutter sound. Now let's try it again with Silent Shutter. Silent Shutter on. If you're right near the camera, sometimes you can hear the autofocusing or the diaphragm move, but you have to be very close to the camera to hear that. It would have been great in getting around church rules when I was in the wedding photography business. You spend a lot of money on getting all new Z lenses, but you find that they're not backward compatible with Nikon F-mount cameras. So I think that that's slowing the adoption of the system. Some complain about the mic preamps in this camera, that they're not as clean as a real professional video camera, and users who are that serious probably would employ an outside recorder too. Because of the video growth room in this camera and its ability to feed video to an outside recorder, a lot of professional video makers are very happy with the Z6. This has a feature that is also on the D750 and D7500, as well as the D500. That's an articulating screen, so for high or low angle shots. I had a camera once called a D5300 that had a fully articulating screen that could go around the front of the camera. I would say overall I'm very happy with my decision to go Z6. There's been a learning curve involved, but the repertoire of equipment, lenses, bodies, and all that for mirrorless systems, not only in Nikon, but Sony and Canon and Fuji and all the other makes. So mirrorless is definitely the new paradigm in cameras. And you know what they say, when the paradigm shifts, everybody goes back to zero. Although I think DSLRs will be around for a while because there are a lot of lenses that go with them. But in any case, I hope this video helps you pick out some of the issues that you'll face, and best wishes in your photography.